Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, the freshest podcast to ever come out of a box. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box and Fresh Out the Podcast. Interesting that you said it's the freshest thing to come out of a box. I have paperwork here that says it is going into the box, not that fresh. Coming out, however, very fresh. Okay, right, so there's something about the packing that makes Fresh Out the Box, Fresh Out the Podcast just right.
It's like putting an avocado in a brown paper bag. It makes it rain.
I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and I'm smelling little whiffs of like snuggle. That's kind of what it smells like. I'm like kind of snuggle, that good fabric softener smell. That's what I'm getting out of this freshness currently.
And when it goes in, it smells like corned beef.
Corned beef. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty yucky. I actually like corned beef, but just thinking of the smell of something smelling like corned beef sounds rather unappealing.
Yeah, packing it into a box. Comes out smelling like Snuggle, though. There's just something about the packing process.
Like the actual Snuggle, or like that one skit where everyone's trying to have sex with the teddy bear? I don't know if you've seen that.
It's episode 99. And what do we have anything special planned for episode 99, Drew?
For episode 99? No, not necessarily. We're still brainstorming for ideas for episode 100. If you have any ideas about...
won't make it to episode 100 because this is the Y2K. This is 99. And we all know and when we get to the zeros, everything resets. Nothing will work anymore and we have to restart at 1.
You are right. But in the event that doesn't happen, like the smallest chance that doesn't happen, because you're right, that's 100% going to happen, people can tweet at us message us, do whatever. Let us know if you have anything that you think would be interesting for episode 100. What do you want to see or hear from us? Because we're open to ideas.
Somebody emailed and they said they want us to rate our favorite flavors of crayons.
Like taste flavors?
That's correct. Yeah, they want us to sit here and eat crayons on screen and kind of, tell
My
people what we think about the flavors.
Flavor of crayon.
No. Don't spoil it. It's for episode 100. We're all going to get one of those big 100 boxes of crayons and just sit here and eat them one by one.
I already know what they all taste like.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
I was a crayon eater.
Not at all.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's why I had a compacted bowel.
Oh boy. Oh, we're going into some territory that I don't want to dive into right now.
That's what my doctor said.
The bad part is the episode 99 is falling right now in this period of time where there's just not a whole lot going on all the different fronts. Like in movies, you've got the summer movie season's kind of over. We're in like that August lull where there's not much coming out. We've got Blue Beetle later this week, but like I think there's, I've already made my prediction that I don't think it's going to fare very well in TV.
I didn't realize that it was Miguel from Cobra Kai. I didn't realize Miguel was Blue Beetle. That made me so much more excited.
1,000%. Yeah, that's half the reason why I was so excited.
Well, I didn't watch any trailers because, as you guys know, generally I don't because I just want to go into a movie blind. Trailers are fine, whatever. They just don't get me excited. But yeah, I watched the trailer the other day on Xbox. It was on there on Xbox. It was like, watch the thing win Blue Beetle, whatever the hell that means. So I watched the thing. I was like, oh, damn, that's Miguel, and realized that he could act. Like, he's got acting chops now. He was really flat in the early seasons of Cobra Kai, but I guess starring in 5 seasons or whatever got him ready for the big screen, and that was super exciting for me. Sorry for the aside, but anybody who didn't know, it's Miguel. And Drew, I think it's really funny you mentioned that movies are sort of in this cold, stale place right now because TV, the silver screen has been popping off for me with stuff from Only Murders in the Building and How To with John Wilson. I've got weekly stuff coming out, and I'm super excited on the TV side.
Luckily, on the streaming side, there are things to watch, and that's really where our interests lie. If you're a fan of network TV or, you are, probably not a millennial, probably older, and you're interested in what's on the main, network TV, not a whole lot of pickings there. We're still in ongoing the writer's strike, and where we're at with TV is just kind of a weird place. There's a lot of reality TV on right now too. I'm not going to dive into all the reality shows I'm watching, but it's a lot, and some of them I'm embarrassed to admit to watching, so I'm not going to get into that.
For you. It's watching reality shows is like a personal diary. You don't have to share what reality shows you watch. No one needs to know your reality show watch history.
I mean, there's some I would talk about. Like, I watched The Challenge USA 2. There's the second season. It just started. There's 2 episodes. It's all like the Survivor, Big Brother, and Amazing Race people, along with the Challenge veterans competing for stuff. I like that one. Big Brother's on, and that's a show I've been watching for years and years, and it's just pure cheese, and it's like getting really difficult to watch year to year. And then I watch other shows that maybe rhyme with the Thatchler Met. I watched some of that too, and I'm not proud of it, but it's a thing that happens. So yeah,
there's a reason Bachelorette has been on for like 37 seasons or whatever. There's somebody's eating it up. Somebody likes
there
that
is
ice
a
cream.
hive, there is a fan base, but man, that stuff is it's bad, and I kind of end up hate watching it, but I still watch it. So I guess ultimately the producers over at ABC win.
I wish
that's how I felt about Bret Michaels' Rock of Love.
Oh,
I watched that entire season, and it was not good. From episode 1, minute 1 until the end, it was nothing about it was enjoyable, and I watched the whole thing.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that the Bachelorette was always the same woman. She just can't get it together.
They have had repeat bachelors and bachelorettes before.
No, I'm talking
that,
37 seasons of the same.
Oh boy! Oh no!
Be careful what you wish for, Jahan.
Funny.
do not wish that show into existence. There's a short list of shows that haven't been made yet, and that's one of them. Just get somebody who is a mess and will mess up every relationship within a year and keep the show going. I think you could find the right person.
Even over on the video game front, like there's stuff that we're playing because there's always stuff to play, right? Like there's backlogs and such. But I finished Final Fantasy 16. I know that there's some multiplayer games. Like Gary, I know you're still all in Exo Primal because I saw you playing it actually today. Jahan, I'm sure you're busy with Baldur's Gate 3 still because I know that's still all the rage.
Out on it, man. It's crazy.
But I kind of got into. I kind of got burnt out on Diablo 4 a little bit, so I like want to dabble in it, but haven't really been getting into it. I'm just kind of now in waiting zone for Starfield because that comes out. We're less than a month away, and we've already talked about that. I feel like that's the next big game on the horizon for me.
Conversation today. I have a sale list, like a wish list on Xbox that'll show me when stuff's on sale, and one of them popped up today. It was Wild West, whatever that Haunted West game is that Jahan and I were looking at. But knowing that he just bought Baldur's Gate 3 and knowing Starfield's coming up, I'm like, man, it doesn't matter how good of a sale there is going on right now. Evil West is the name of that game, by the way. It doesn't matter how good of a sale there is right now. We're in waiting mode. Starfield's just about to be out. Save your money. Yeah. Just wait. Hold on. Hold your breath. So, yeah, I'm feeling that, Drew.
Yeah, I've got Baldur's Gate 3, so I am playing that until Starfield comes out, and then I
was gonna say it's probably gonna be hard to rip yourself away from it to play Starfield.
I don't know. So it's hard to say because two of my favorite games of all time: Baldur's Gate 2, right, Shadow of Am, and then Morrowind, right, and then by extension Oblivion, Skyrim, blah blah blah. All those games, I love them.
What's so great about that too is you're not going to have to compare the two. They're totally different games. Yeah. One's going to be fantasy, one's going to be future. One's got the overhead view with a ton of options. The other one's going to be first person. So yeah, it's going to probably honestly be a nice break at the time after a month of kind of bird's eye view dungeon crawling around to be able to go fly around in a spaceship.
I'm going so hard on it. I know that when Starfield comes out, I will be ready for something new.
Hell yeah.
I have a girlfriend in the game.
Oh, cool.
There's a lot of romancing in the game. It's ridiculous. You can romance like every single character.
Speaking of romance, what game I've kind of dived into while waiting for Starfield, one that I never really gave much time to, even though I bought it last November, is Pokemon Scarlet is what I've finally decided to put time into. And it still has a lot of issues with how it runs. I know that was a big thing when that game came out, is like it just had developmental things like that should have been patched that haven't been. That being said, the core gameplay experience of it, I really enjoy. Like the battling and the open world setting and how you can level and catch Pokemon. I really enjoyed that grind of it. And they just had a Pokemon Direct last week and announced some DLC for it. It's like I'm kind of enjoying playing it super casually because it's nice. Like when I was playing Final Fantasy 16, that was a game that I struggled to put down. Like when it was like I need to go to bed, I would do one more mission or one more thing and I'd play way too late. Pokemon is just so easy. Like I can pick it up and play it for 15 minutes and put it down, or pick it up and play it for an hour and put it down. Like I can separate myself from it, and that's nice. Because video games are the only thing like that for me that I struggle with, where I'm like I struggle to pull myself away sometimes.
Yep. I've told the story before, but I had to stop playing XCOM 2 because it was destroying my life.
Right.
Baldur's Gate's got a little bit of that for me. I gotta
this past week I was playing the City Skylines, and same thing, once you're playing City Builders, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'll play for 30 more minutes, and then 2 hours has gone by and you're like, damn.
City Builders do that.
The common theme of that though, Gary, like you diving into that, aside from Jahan playing Baldur's Gate, which I mean, to be fair, is the third game in a series that he is nostalgic for and loves. But like, sounds like we've all just been kind of diving back into comfort food and enjoying whether it's reality shows or other, or video games, whatever, like just kind of getting that comfort food until the next big thing comes out, which nothing wrong with that. Sometimes that's kind of a nice phase to be in.
And I think it's funny that for us, the three of us, the next big thing is Starfield. But like, there are people out in the world right now who've never heard of it. They don't care. They couldn't care less. They don't know about Xbox. They don't know about Microsoft. They don't care. And we live in this world where this is big. This is big for us, man. Our next big thing is Starfield. We're excited as millennial video game nerds from this era and culture. Bring it, man. I'm ready for it.
I'm very ready. I'm so excited.
It actually, going with the movies and it being kind of in a lull, that's actually kind of a good transition into fresh picks of the week, just because, like, one of the new releases of this past week was The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I don't even know. Like, there's probably people who haven't heard of that movie for sure, because I just don't feel
That's because the name is dumb. They should have called it Dracula Boat, because that
They
movie
should've.
looked pretty cool. The movie looked pretty cool, and that's what it is.
But at the box office, it struggled. It made $6.5 million and came in number 5 at the box office in its opening weekend. Numbers 1 and 2 were Barbie and Oppenheimer in their 4th week of release each. So Barbie was at number 1. Oppenheimer had gone down to number 3 the previous week when Meg 2 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out. It jumped back up to number 2. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was number 3, and Meg 2 was number 4, and then Last Voyage of the Demeter. So it's like I said, of the movies, like the things holding strong are the popular movies that came out 4 weeks ago. And
Could you imagine making Dracula Boat and losing to Meg 2?
Yeah. And then Blue Beetle comes out next weekend, which I, again, think that Blue Beetle is not going to do what they want it to do at the box office, but I do at least think it will dethrone Barbie from the number 1 spot, and Blue Beetle will be number 1 at the box office this weekend. If it doesn't, if Barbie holds number 1 over Blue Beetle, that's not good for DC, the current state of things over there.
Put it on your fresh prediction.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to make a prediction about that, bud?
Sure,
Blue
I
Beetle's
can.
Gonna come out number 1.
And I'm saying this, and
I'm planning to go see Blue Beetle. If I get paid this week, I think I get paid this week. I'm gonna go see Blue Beetle.
I am
I'll do my part.
planning on going because
Scout's Honor.
I love Blue Beetle.
Scout's Honor. I have not looked ahead at any of the box office tracking, so I have no idea what the actual tracking is for this weekend. But that to me just seems like the common sense guess for for what will happen. Come on, computer, catch up with me here. Okay, August 14th is this prediction that Blue Beetle will dethrone. I know this is good podcasting, me narrating while I type. We'll
love it.
Dethrone Barbie, but still be a disappointment. How's that? Good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I love that. It's going to
pretty
come
fresh.
in under its expectation, but it is going to come in at number 1.
Yes, that is exactly that prediction.
I like that. That's a brave prediction. I like that. And I don't disagree with you at all. It's a brave prediction, and you stand by it, and I believe in you.
I actually think Barbie might be able to hold it, man.
The fact that we're even having a conversation means that there's a chance that Barbie holds it. Maybe it's
right.
To me, I'm feeling like a 15 or 20% chance Barbie could hold it, but I don't think it's going to happen either. But color me surprised. We'll see what happens next week.
I knew Barbie would be successful. I did not think that it would be this year's Top Gun Maverick. Like, that's what it's going for.
No one
It's
could have called that, man.
Yeah, it's insane. But enough about the movies that came out 4 weeks ago. The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is, as Gary said, Dracula on a boat. Jahan, are you familiar with this movie?
Oh, yeah. I'm actually really want to watch it.
Okay. So, have you read Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Parts of it, not the whole thing.
I haven't either. But I didn't realize initially that this is based off of like a chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula called The Captain's Log or something. So they took basically a small sliver of the book and made it into this full-on movie kind of prequel, which
Well done.
Yeah, it's an interesting premise. Dracula on a boat should be a lot of fun. It's almost 2 hours long. It just It's too long and not enough scares for me personally. Like, I just thought it was a little bit dull, but the Dracula design is really cool. So Jahan, if you're like wanting to go see Dracula, it is worth it. Like, if you're a hardcore Dracula fan, I think that you will get something out of it. Like, the Dracula design is neat, and they made him very bat-like in his human form, and just way more like monstery rather than being like more like a man, like a human man.
I will watch pretty much any monster movie, but my favorites: zombies, vampires, and werewolves. Those will almost always put my butt in a seat. I do have a question though: is Dracula wearing a nautical themed pashmina afghan?
He's
It
not.
does not look like it. I was looking through some of the images, and it is a good-looking Dracula monster. You're not wrong. It's nice and scary. I would paint a little miniature of that scary-looking Dracula.
It would
I
make
like
a really
painting
good
monsters.
miniature.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd make a good one.
I bet you there are ones that are close to that because he looks very batty. That's
Yeah,
a
he's
popular-
like
wow.
yeah, like the Nosferatu Bat Boy kind of look, except like mixed with Bane, like on steroids. It's a good-looking monster. I like it.
He
Lots of
definitely
scary,
looks-
sharp teeth.
He definitely looks better than the main vampire from The Strain. That always fucked me up about that show.
And the main vampire is from the end of Blade.
Which the original Blade, like first one.
Yeah, it's Frost, just that guy. Just like the rest of the guy.
He's so normal looking.
Just a dude.
All the rest of them have like split tongues and face piercings, and he's just like, look at me, I'm regular.
So Drew, does this place on your like top 5 vampire movies of all time? There's a lot of good vampire movies out there. Is it good enough to like be noteworthy? Is it a slam dunk of a vampire movie, or is it just kind of a? I see you shaking your head.
I think it's gonna be forgotten. Like, honestly, there's already been another Dracula movie that came out this year that I had more fun with than this, which was Renfield, where Nicolas Cage played Dracula, and that movie wasn't even that great either. So it was kind of fun, but it just was what it was. The Last Voyage of the Demeter, it's like it doesn't have enough oomph to it, and like Corey Hawkins is the lead in it, and I like him enough, and he's pretty good. Honestly, for me the MVP of the cast is Liam Cunningham, who plays Sir Davos from Game of Thrones, is in this, and he plays the captain, and he brings like that gravitas. And I always really liked Davos as a character, so it's nice to see him back, and he's kind of in Davos mode, but as like a, as a sea captain.
That was part of the reason.
Really,
that was part of the reason
really
I wanted
works.
to see it, because I knew that he was in it. I was like, man, that'd be cool.
and he's good in it. He's enjoyable. It's just
So he works and the monster works, but the movie's too long and the script doesn't really work.
Yes, that'd be it. It gets a little bit too talky in between when you're like, I know Dracula's on this boat. Why are they not hunting for him while he's sleeping? And like, just
See, and that's
I mean, it's a boat. You know what I mean? Like he's right over there.
he's somewhere.
exactly.
Unless he can transform into like rats or something, which would be a lot harder to catch. But hey, I feel like that's one of the problems with like a lot of monster movies. When you're using something big like Dracula or something that has established rules that the audience knows. You know what I mean? Like, part of the reason why Alien was so good was because you didn't know what was going to happen. You would have never been able to call any of that happening. It's because you didn't know the rules. But now, you know Dracula's on the boat. You kind of know all about Dracula and what he can do. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. There's no surprise there anymore. I feel like that's what happens when you do something to death like that.
I just read a really similar article about Marvel movies. I totally agree with you.
And the
Dracula's
thing
been
is,
done a lot. You kind of need a new monster if you want to do something exciting.
Yeah, 100%.
the thing with The Last Voyage of the Demeter is I hate doing this because I feel like I'm being hypocritical and just, contradicting myself. But because I love seeing movies in theaters, and typically I'm like, go see a movie in theaters. However, this is a universal release, which means that typically, like if Asteroid City is to be an example, a lot of these universal releases go to Peacock within about 45 days. Oppenheimer will be the big exception for that because they worked out like a 120-day theatrical run or something. Like that movie won't be on streaming until Thanksgiving. But like Last Voyage of the Demeter presumably will be on Peacock in like a little over a month and a half. So like by Halloween time or a little before, this will be on Peacock. So like you might be better suited to just wait it out and go see that. However, I'm sure that every producer person that worked on this movie is saying, no, go see it in theaters because that's where they're going to make their money. But like if you're a patient person, you know, and you subscribe to Peacock, this will be a nice little perk for you come October to watch this one. So
I'm actually
not saying to wait for streaming, but it might not hurt either.
I'm actually going to wait for the American remake, Last Voyage of the Foot.
The Yard.
The Yard.
Yeah, a meter's closer to a yard. So yeah, that's the Last Voyage of the Yard. Mm-hmm.
I want to be so mad at this joke, but I think that it's actually kind of clever.
Joke. Yeah, it measures up. Okay, good.
They
made a prequel. You know what the prequel's called, Drew?
Please do tell.
The First Voyage of the Demeter.
It's just a normal boat, right? Nothing
eventful happens.
He's taking inventory.
One of the chickens gets loose from the from.
It's
where
got
the
like a
animals
thriller
rehauled.
soundtrack though, so like it's always like something's about to happen. There's like, what's that in the fog? And there's nothing, and like the fog clears. And it's
someone should make a movie with a bunch of jump scares. But there's nothing ever happens. Someone should do that.
That's what The Baby was like the show I was watching with where the baby's killing people. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's all jump scares with just cuts of baby.
The baby jump scares is pretty funny though. Oh boy.
All of that transitions pretty well to a movie that we actually did all catch on now that it's on streaming, which is Wes Anderson's Asteroid City, which I had actually. It's funny, Gary, because you messaged this weekend. You're like, I just watched this, and I had actually.
You already had. I just made an assumption that if a Wes Anderson movie had come out, you had seen it, and I was wrong, and I was surprised about that.
I had not seen it yet, but you messaged when I already had plans to watch it that weekend, nice. So like it worked out perfectly. And then once it was clear that you and I both watched it, Jahan jumped on and watched it too. So
I've been wanting to see it, but life stuff stopped me from seeing it in theaters. So hey,
so before we started streaming, Jahan asked me a good question, which is, am I a Wes Anderson fan? And long story short, I would say no. I haven't seen about a third of his filmography. I don't like about a third of his filmography, and I do like another third. Like, so I hate some, I really like some, and I haven't seen some. But I thought the sets in Asteroid City were amazing, and you always know Wes Anderson's going to do fun, quirky things with his set design and costume design and characters. But I thought the sets were particularly outstanding in Asteroid City. I had a lot of fun with that. American Southwest town, the town of Asteroid City. I thought it was an amazing set.
It's interesting. I'm with you. Like everything visually in this movie, I was a fan of. It kind of is coming out at a funny time, only because there was that big. This has like kind of been the discourse around this movie too, and I'm just adding to it. But it's true. Like there is that big TikTok trend within the past couple of months where people would be like filming an activity but in the style of a Wes Anderson movie, and they'd put the score from the French Dispatch behind it, and like this was a big TikTok thing. It was all over, and it'd be like, you know, going on a train ride, you know, in the style of Wes Anderson, and people did this for all kinds of things. And then that evolved to people doing AI interpretations of like existing IP in the style of Wes Anderson. Like they had TikToks and things where it'd be like Star Wars in the style of Wes Anderson, and it would show these
really funny. Yeah,
some of them were really funny, and some of them were really well done.
Batman in the style of Wes Anderson, I could get behind that.
Yeah, so they had all these things, and then an actual Wes Anderson movie comes out, and there's like a bit of it that almost feels like a parody of itself, just because like this has now been riffed on social media, and then you see it and you're like, yeah, those are pretty spot on. Like that's kind of how this stuff is. That being said, Asteroid City is a lot deeper than that and has like a huge roster of actors and actresses that are in it that like will pop up just for a scene or to deliver a few lines, and then they're gone for the rest of the movie, which is kind of crazy, but people like to work with Wes Anderson, and he has his usual kind of arsenal of people that he works with.
Yeah.
Jahan, what'd you think of Asteroid City?
I loved it. It was, I agree. Like visually, it's very Wes Anderson. It's probably like the most Wes Anderson visually. I love the cinematography, and the sets are great. Just the general feel. It feels, I don't know. It felt like distilled Wes Anderson. Like it had, a lot of that dark. Like it's very dark and depressing underneath like this very colorful facade, and like that's how his stuff is, and this one does it perfectly and very well, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought I was laughing at a lot of parts. Like they make you laugh at some weird stuff, man. I also enjoyed.
Yeah, they do. Pretty much every part with those three little girls is hilarious,
Those three
and
little
they're
girls are
weird
great.
as hell. Yeah, they are. They're fantastic.
I want
I don't
my
know.
daughters to be.
I don't know
just
if I
like
want
that.
to. I don't know if I want to dissect this movie too deep, but they for sure reminded me of the witches, Shakespeare, Hamlet, the old three witches, with their
Yeah.
nickerty knockerty new, with their casting spells and stuff around the pot, and the whole, they were in a whole nother world. Basically, they were impossible to talk to. They're insane.
I thought they were great, and I also really enjoyed how like I don't think he's ever done it before where like the movie isn't really happening, like it's a production as like this play that's happening on the outside,
Right.
but it's also really happening. It was really
So
interesting.
there were three different sort of plots going on. One with the writer of the play, and then one that was the play, and then the movie itself was actually the play.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were three layers to the story, and it was one of the things where you either have to really pay attention or go back and watch it again. But it's Wes Anderson-y. He's telling a bunch of stories at once, and then on top of his three layers, every character basically has their own story. So some of them are deep and rich, and some of them are very shallow and cheesy, like the cowboy and the teacher.
That one was really
it-
funny.
really shallow, but every character has a relationship, and I think that's fun to see. Is you get this huge ensemble cast, and literally everyone is going to have some relationship in this story, and it's a coming of age story as well, since there are so many stories buried throughout. So, just like Moonlight Kingdom, when Wes Anderson's making a coming of age story, you probably got my attention. And I like the way they did it, man. I'm into aliens, and now with the government having more hearings and people talking more openly about what they think aliens might be, I think it's a good time, a fun time for a movie like this to come out. And for those conspiracy theorists that are into it, the movie's pretty funny, and the overarching story that, a creature came to Earth, a creature left Earth, and everyone just kept on doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the story, and I laughed out loud at that at the end, because that's humanity in a nutshell, man. We're too complex. We have too many problems of our own to worry about that.
The thing about this movie that like some of Wes Anderson's movies can are a little long, and they can get kind of boring in spots. They kind of have lulls. I mainly like the major one that makes me think of is Life Aquatic. Like it can get a little boring, but that's just because it's like so dark. I don't know, but this one I felt
I love Life Aquatic also.
Life Aquatic's a good one, but it's definitely I don't know, it has some lulls in it. And this movie, like every scene is interesting. Something's going on, and I noticed it was just like very captivating.
I found myself having to watch it with Asteroid City. I found myself having to watch Asteroid City with the subtitles on, because the talking is so rapid fire, and there are so many conversations that it helped a lot to be able to read what was going on.
Gary, I know you had your initial message to us, I think, was like, I watched Asteroid City, what did I just watch? And so that made me think you were going to be, that you were not a fan. That was my interpretation of what you said.
Same.
Yeah, no, that's what Jahan said too, but I really think it was just like, what in the absolute, there are some parts of it that's just like, what the hell? Like, what in the absolute F am I watching? And so, it's, I think some of his movies, Wes Anderson's movies, can be silly and quirky, but I thought this one was pretty bizarre. Still silly, still quirky, but bizarre. Some bizarre choices and strange decisions, and Maybe it was too long, but I think maybe every Wes Anderson movie might be too long. They should probably all be like 40 minutes, and he should just make more.
Yeah, this one is like right about an hour and 40 minutes, I think, by the time that credits roll. And I'm right there with y'all. Like, really did enjoy it. I don't think it's like the best Wes Anderson movie by any means. I think it's kind of like middle of the road Wes Anderson, but it's definitely.
What is your favorite Wes Anderson movie? Not the best. What's your favorite?
I really like Moonrise Kingdom a lot. I think that's one of the, as I was kind of like coming into being a bigger fan of films and like seeking out auteurs and things, like I saw the Darjeeling Limited in theaters and really liked it, and then Moonrise Kingdom came out right at a time where I was like, really unpacking this stuff and studying it, and I just really loved that movie. And so I kind of go into every Wes Anderson movie wanting to love it as much as that. And unfortunately, since then, I feel like it's been kind of, I don't want to say diminishing returns for me, because that makes it sound like all his stuff has been bad, but it's just like
I would say,
a lot of
speaking, I think that like Moonlight Kingdom might be his most normal of his filmography. He makes a lot of quirky decisions in basically everything else he makes, but in my memory, Moonlight Kingdom wasn't that over the top, silly, quirky, colorful.
No, and a lot of people really, really love Grand Budapest Hotel, and like that one for me was fine. And then I think after that was Isle of Dogs, and then The French Dispatch, and now here we are. And like I've liked all of those. I definitely liked Asteroid City more than French Dispatch. French Dispatch is probably lower end, lower tier Wes Anderson for me.
So the only thing that I haven't seen Moonrise Kingdom. I need to. I don't know how I haven't gotten around to seeing it. I definitely need to put that. But yeah, I'm in a similar. Darjeeling Limited and Grand Budapest Hotel are probably my two favorites of his. And I would put Asteroid City towards the top of my picks for him. But that's without having seen Moonrise Kingdom. I actually really like this one.
I love Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. That's my number one. That's my top. That's my go-to guy. I could watch more Steve Zissou movies.
Honestly, it's been a long. When did that movie come out? 2004. Yeah, I was still a kid last time I saw that, so I maybe I need to give that another watch with some adult eyes.
I love Moonrise Kingdom. It's probably my number one. I also really love Royal Tenenbaums, but I feel like that's one that like people either love it or really don't like it, and that's one that I really like.
I like it too. I like it a lot. It's just I feel like I feel like some of his other movies are just better. Darjeeling Limited and Grand Budapest Hotel are better, in my opinion.
Tenenbaums is on my 1/3 of Wes Anderson things that I hate. And both Budapest and both of those are on my 1/3 of unseen. So I haven't seen those ones, and I don't like the other ones.
Yeah, Isle of Dogs is an interesting one. It's not a Wes Anderson movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so different. It's not in the same. I wouldn't put it in the same vein. It's so different from his other stuff.
Well, speaking of movies, I watched another movie. I caught Northman with my little boy eyeballs. I know Drew talked about really liking Northman, and I was worried about sexual assault. Straight up, I'm gonna be honest. I know how Vikings are. Vikings are pretty rapey. And so I was worried about the movie being rapey and me not liking it. But it was not. It was totally watchable. It was a lot more action. I didn't expect so much like Viking fantasy stuff, but like, Raven's Guide to the Way, and he fights an undead, or does he? And like he's, like communes with like the wolves and stuff by like howling and eating the hearts of his enemies. I mean, it's like some dope.
There's Viking depictions of Valhalla and like the
Valkyries.
The Valkyries, yes, thank you. Yeah.
But all of it's sort of like keep it in the back pocket. It's like, is it real? Did he have visions? Did it really happen? It's like, or is it just like, this is just how their lore makes sense to them? So I liked that. There's a lot of magic in it, or is there no magic in it at all?
It's actually that's the exact reason why I like what's it called, Hellblade, the Xbox game, because the character is psychotic. Like it has some sort of like schizophrenia, so you don't actually know if anything you're seeing is real, and it's just that's pretty cool. I haven't seen Northman because I thought
I recommend
the same thing
now that I've seen it. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like, not to like be that guy, but like I thought it was going to be like something that white supremacists were like, yeah, this is our Viking movie. Yeah, it's our heritage. But it's not that at all. It's more like a Viking character from a D&D story. This is his solo adventure. He left his tribe of barbarians and went to go, like, avenge his family.
Yeah, I also
So,
thought it was
it's
like
awesome.
really rapey, and I didn't want to watch that either. But hey,
Yeah, I can tell you that it is not. I do recommend it. I think it's on Peacock, but it might be. Yeah, it's not on HBO. I just watched it on Peacock.
I'm trying to find
Oh.
when we did our top fives actually of 2022 because I loved The Northman.
You had it
and if-
on there.
yeah, it was definitely.
I was gonna say if it wasn't in my top 5, it was in my top 10, but I just can't remember.
But the performances were great. The pacing, it got a little slow, but only barely. It's like 2 hours and some change, but it's pretty good the whole way through. And it doesn't like stall out on the ending. You're not like waiting and waiting and waiting for it to end. I did watch it in like 2 or 3 parts. You know, I would watch like 30 minutes and go to bed because it is super violent still. It's
Yeah.
very, very violent. It's just not as sexual assault, gross violent. So I recommend The Northman to anybody who likes violent action movies. I thought it was a lot of fun. And it had some little fantasy elements sprinkled in. So if you like fantasy, there's something in there for you too.
This is actually in my searching for things. I found our list of, or my personal list at least, of like the top 5 things of movies, TV, and games that I was looking forward to this year. And this stuff's always really interesting to look at when you have a little bit of perception after the fact, you know? Here's top 5s. Where's my top 5s? Top 5s. No, I had The Northman as an honorable mention.
Okay. I remember you.
But
talking
now,
about it.
but now looking back at it, I'm like, I put Glass Onion in my top 5, and like I feel like The Northman should have been there instead of that. Like I
agree.
I
I
liked
can
Glass
agree with
Onion
that.
a lot when it came out, but in hindsight, I'm like, my top 4 beyond that: The Fabelmans, Banshees of Inisherin, Top Gun: Maverick, Tar. I'm cool with all of those. Glass Onion, maybe not as much.
Yeah, I'll stand by it. You should watch The Northman. Just know that it's going to be very, very violent. You know, it's a good time. It's just not a fun time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do I have the last
right.
movie here?
I have one, but it's like only kind of a movie. So you go first.
Okay. Well, I went to the movies and saw The Meg 2 with my mom because she's.
Oh, I heard that movie bites.
It does. It bites hard. She's a big movie monster fan too, and so we went and saw that.
Do you agree with my take from last week?
What was your take? I don't remember.
My take was
I do. His take was that all of it was boring until the very end, and then like the last act was pretty awesome with the sharks.
the last act was what I wanted the whole movie to be. That was my take.
So I don't know, man. All right. So for me, the movie starts off really well, and like I'm
With
like, hey,
the dinosaurs. It should have been a dinosaur
the
movie.
dinosaur
I'll
thing's
go-
cool.
I will go to my grave with this.
See, you do get you get more dinosaurs throughout the movie, though, Gary. You do get more dinosaurs than I was expecting. It's not zero.
But they're like doggy dinosaurs. They're like little dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're small.
Oh no. We
They're like
need
wolf
more
size.
Meg. We need more Meg eating a T-Rex.
Yeah. But so it starts off pretty good. It starts off solid, like a real movie. Like it starts off good, and then they get to the part where they go in the submarine. You know, you have the stowaway kid that's kind of tired. Whatever. It's a thing. She's down there. You go down there, and then they find the base, and you know the explosions. They're in the abyss. They're in the trench, and then they go out and they're walking the trench in suits, right? They're walking the trench in like power suits. That part to me, and the parts where they're in the station down there, I would have been happier had that been the whole movie, because like it was really cool. Like visually, it was cool and interesting. And then they're in this like alien environment. It's really scary and intense, and they have to like really think to escape their fate. And for me, it all made like good movie sense up until the point where he goes out the airlock without a suit on.
Yeah,
And that's where the movie just goes downhill for me. Because then
because it was
like,
some
oh
weird
yeah,
science where like he had to get water in his sinuses in order to like not have his head cave in due to pressure. It's
you would
something
die.
weird like that.
You would die if you got water in your sinuses like that. There's no way.
But it was
you're
some
not gonna
weird
drown.
movie logic. I don't know if any of this was backed by any actual science. It seemed a little out there.
It was completely out there. But that's up until that point. You could believe the movie science. You know what I mean? And then it was just jousting sharks on jet skis with exploding spears. Like that's where it went. And like I was fine with that too at the end. But like the in between from the point I said to the point after like the oil rig place or whatever, like that section right there was stupid. It was all dumb. A bunch of dumb stuff happened.
Here's my thing with this. So I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I get it, and I don't even disagree with it because I think that there were some interesting ideas there. For me, all of the trench stuff and the big underwater station and the walking, I actually really liked the design of the suits and things that they wore underwater and like that science behind it. Cool. But all that stuff to me was like just not the movie that I was wanting. So to me, all that stuff was kind of a slog because I wanted the B movie cheesiness of a giant shark movie. I feel like we got more of in the first one. Like I wanted that. So when we got to the last act, I'm like, this is what I wanted. To your point, there could have been a really good horror movie made that didn't even need the Meg, branding on it. That could have been like this deep sea.
The Trench would have been a good movie, dude.
The Trench could have been its own thing that was good and like make a good horror movie out of that. Instead, they fit in this Trench storyline into a Meg movie, which is kind of like during that whole part you're talking about, the Megs themselves are sidelined. So I'm like, give me giant sharks. And so when they came back, then I was good.
Overall, better than I expected. Better than it really had any right to be. It's not an unwatchable pile of crap like I expected. It was actually completely watchable, a decent action flick, and very cheesy.
For what it's worth, I just don't believe you. I don't think that Jason Statham versus a CG shark is gonna be watchable at all. I think it has to be a steaming pile. I can't believe you guys.
It was watchable, man. It was watchable. It just wasn't great.
I don't know, Gary. Knowing you and your movie watching habits, the part that I'm saying was the best part. I would be surprised if you were even able to get to it.
There's no way.
You would have turned it off really early.
No, man, I'll
like
turn
you
a
would
movie,
be better
I'll
off
turn a
just
movie off 11 minutes in. I'll turn it off. I'll give you 10 minutes.
If
you have not done anything with 10 minutes of your movie time, do you know how many millions of dollars you just wasted? I'm not in anymore. You have wasted too much of my time and too much of your producer's time. You've just made a crap movie. Get on with it. Let's go.
You're honestly better off waiting till it's on streaming and then just cutting to that last, like skip all the first hour and 15 minutes and get to that last 30 minutes. That would be what my suggestion for you, Gary. You don't need the plot.
You remember when I was asking you guys if the Meg was the size of a boat or big enough to like eat a plane?
Mm-hmm.
And you said there's like more than one Meg?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a really big one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's also other really
Definitely
large sea
see.
creatures, Gary.
I want to see a Meg try to eat a plane, right? But I want that to last an hour and a half. I don't want that to just be one scene at the end. I want to see a Meg try to eat all sorts of stuff that it can't eat. I want to see a Meg try to like eat a jet liner out of the sky, like dive over Hawaii and try to eat a tourist plane.
Really,
right as
you
it's
kind of
landing.
see Jason Statham eat a Meg, if anything.
What?
He does,
That's a twist I wasn't expecting.
He kills one on foot, like almost with nothing. It was awesome. That part was really cool. But yeah, no. I said the Meg's fine. It's not. It's probably about what most people would expect. It's definitely a B movie with a AAA budget. What's
your star rating if you had to give it a star rating?
4.
4 out of 5?
I give it 4. No, out of 10.
Oh, out of
Okay.
10. Okay, well then
Okay,
we did
good,
the same
good,
thing. I
good.
gave it 2 stars out of 5. So it's kind of funny
Good.
that you're higher on it, but our ratings were the same.
Yeah, that's
We just
to
liked it for
me,
different reasons.
Yeah.
You guys are telling me that movie's a 1. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a 1 or a 0. I'm hearing that movie's dog crap.
No, it's
Because
a
a
2
yeah.
out of 5.
Yeah, 4 for you guys or a 2 out of 5 for you guys is a dog crap for me. Thanks. Thank you for your honest
You
reviews.
definitely. I would not tell you to watch this movie, Gary.
Oh, I didn't ask you guys what you rated, or we didn't say it was fresh. Obviously, we all thought Asteroid City was pretty fresh. What would you guys give that a star rating if you're a star rater?
I'd give that a 4 out of 5.
I also gave that a 4 out of 5.
I also gave it a 4 out of 5.
Love that.
I was close to bumping that up too, because I actually really liked Asteroid City a lot.
It's funny that you say that. I clicked 5 out of 5 and I laughed out loud. I was like, that was not a 5 out of 5. It was good, but it was not a 5 out of 5. I clicked it, changed
I'm
my
close to 4.5, but yeah,
Okay.
it's very.
So we agree. All right, Drew, I think you're the only one who has another movie type substance on your list.
Well, actually, one thing I didn't put on my list, but just speaking of 5 out of 5s, I'm not going to go in depth on it because I already talked about it at length a few weeks ago, but I did actually go see Oppenheimer for a second time this weekend, and my rating bumped up to a 5 out of 5. I had that as a 4.5 out of 5 after first watch. After second watch, I was like, this is a masterpiece. This is a
Did
5
you
out of
see
5.
it with your dad?
I did not. I saw it with my wife.
With your wife? Okay, yeah, I was wondering who went to go see that. I'm
Yep,
surprised
she
that
wanted to see it.
to go. I'm surprised.
She wanted to see that over Barbie. She was like, I'd rather see Oppenheimer. I was like, okay,
Interesting.
cool.
Interesting.
And I think that movie, like
Barbie
as it's
girl.
going and building, it has like some ups and downs that I enjoy. But then when it finally gets to the actual bomb testing scene, I'm just like, everything about this is a masterpiece. Like, this is incredible. So that's all I'll say about it. On rewatch, I'm sticking with that movie's a masterpiece, 5 out of 5. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but it's a masterpiece. I don't think that makes sense, but that's how I feel about it.
I think that strangely, maybe that does make sense.
Yep. Moving on, I queued up Netflix recently, and they have all these untold sports documentaries on Netflix that from a wide variety of topics, and their most recent one that premiered is Untold Johnny Football, and it's the story of Johnny Manziel and his kind of historic college rise and even more historic pro career fall. And I'll be pretty
gone to WWE when he was hot, because that dude could have made money like failing at WWE. Also, he could have failed 3 things back to back.
I will be pretty transparent here. I'm an alumni of the University of Oklahoma. So I went to a school that was in the Big 12 during the time that A&M was in the Big 12. He's doing Sooner celebrations. At that time, A&M was not very good, and they were in the Big 12. We played them every year, and usually we decimated them. I am not a fan of A&M. If anything, I am an active fan of disliking A&M. Not that I don't like people that go there. I have lots of really close friends, people I'm very close with in my life.
If
that
you
went
have
to
to pick a school to hate, Texas A&M is a great choice to pick a school to hate.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that being said, during the whole Johnny Manziel era, couldn't stand him. Didn't like him then. Watching his career downfall after that, can't help but have gotten a little bit of sick pleasure out of that.
It was hilarious every single day that I read an article about Johnny Football. It was so funny.
And watching this movie, if you're a fan of disliking him, you're going to like this movie because it does nothing to redeem him at all. You're like, yeah, this is a pretty trash person when you're watching it. Like, and he's in it, he's narrating, he's really open and transparent about all the stuff that he did, like the dumb stuff he did in college. I mean, not to talk bad about his college skills, because like in college he was a truly revolutionary player, like, and he totally revolutionized the A&M football program at that time, and he brought a lot to them, and it was pretty incredible to watch. But Yeah, man, just all the choices he made after and his kind of addiction to partying itself is pretty crazy. And when you're watching these kind of people that have so many opportunities and squandered away, you're just like, how would you do this? But he's pretty open about what he liked to do and why, and how the NFL just didn't feel like a good fit for him from the start. But anyway, this is on Netflix. It's like an hour and 10-minute documentary. So like it's not super long, but I enjoyed it for what it was, just because I was like, yes, this has cemented how I felt about Johnny Football for the past 10 years. It did not change anything there. So
I love that. I love that it didn't open your eyes and make him a decent person. He sucks and you watch it and he still sucks. I love that. I might watch it because of that.
Yeah, that's my take. The other thing I watched, I just want to mention, because I did talk about several weeks ago how I was watching like the original Planet of the Apes movies, and I finished all 5 of the original ones. And man, that is a crazy saga and a weird. The 5th one is just so bad.
Your dreams have been really bananas ever since then.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was going ape for this one for sure.
Do any of the humans ever do it with any of the ape people?
No.
Okay. Because Mark Wahlberg got really close.
There's some kissing on the lips in some of the old ones, but it's like almost a weird consensual or platonic thing and not like a romantic thing. Do you know the plot of these movies? Let me just walk you through like the super Cliff Notes version here.
Okay. I don't actually know the original series that well.
Planet of the Apes 1, right? Spaceman, U.S. spaceman comes down to Earth, somehow has time traveled into the future, into a future where apes have taken over and men do not speak and they are used as slaves. So it's Charlton Heston.
That happens when you go to space. That really does happen.
Right. And so, but the whole time, you're watching the first movie is that, and sorry, spoilers for a 50-year-old movie at this point, but the whole thing is that he thinks he's on a different planet, and then the twist at the end is that he's on Earth the whole time and in the future. Cut to the second movie, where another spaceman comes down, is trying to find Charlton Heston's character.
And again, that's how you get to the future is you go to space. So far this tracks.
And there's apes, but then you're introduced to like post-apocalyptic, like radioactive humans that have mental telekinesis powers or telepathy that are still alive, and then they blow up a giant nuclear warhead that destroys the entire planet. And that is how the second movie ends, which I believe is called Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Cut to, I believe,
that
Escape.
Is totally bonkers.
Oh yeah, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, all right, is you find out that 3 of the apes from the last movie escaped on one of the spacecraft that one of the spacemen came down to Earth from and went into space, time travel back to the original present when the spacemen left.
When you go to space,
you
time travel.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So apes then come down to when the original spacemen left and are now these, like, they're talking apes that have come to space or come down to Earth, and the humans are threatened by them because of the prophecies and what these apes talk about their future being. So they try to kill the apes, but those 2 apes had a child, and they switched out that child with a real ape, like with a normal ape. So when they think that they've killed all the space apes, the baby ape has lived. He then grows up to be Caesar and leads the revolution that starts in the 4th movie called Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Then Battle of the Planet of the Apes is more war between apes and men, and Caesar leading them, and that's the saga of the original 5 Planet of the Apes movies. It is a pretty bonkers and wild ride, and get decreasing budgets as they go on, so they just start to get cheesier and cheesier, but boy, really they exist.
It sounds like the humans screwed up in Planet of the Apes 2 when they decided to blow up the whole planet. I wouldn't have done that, because now the apes have to go take over your planet. Now you left them no choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how could you not see that coming?
Just had to share my journey with those 5 apes movies. That's
you.
and that's it. There's
Thank you for that.
then there was a Tim Burton Apes movie, and then there were the Matt Reeves Apes movies, and now there's supposed to be another Apes movie coming out next year called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and we'll see
Tim
what happens
Burton
there.
the Mark Wahlberg one?
Oh yeah, it's
Oh,
not
boy.
a good movie. That's a really bad movie.
That's the one I remember the most because of how old I was when it came out.
Oh man, have you seen the new ones?
The new
They're
ones are
gangster.
great. New ones are great.
Yeah, the new ones ball hard.
No,
The
new ones are
ball so hard
solid
that-
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yep.
if the other ones had been in the Library of Alexandria and burned in history and no one ever saw the other Planet of the Apes again and only the current ones, I think that would be best for everyone.
Which movie do they go back to modern time? Is that the third one you said, or the second one?
That's the third one.
Third one. Okay, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
after their planet gets blown up, they go to space and time travel, obviously, because that's what happens when you go to space.
It
Yep.
goes it goes Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Battle of the Planet of the Apes. Those are the 5.
Thanks, Drew.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You've all been educated.
I mentioned real quick earlier that even though movies are so bad now that Drew has had to go watch the old Planet of the Apes, there's still streaming shows to watch, and in fact HBO Max is something we all have, and I think you guys also watch How To with John Wilson. There are weekly episodes coming out, and usually I kind of like to binge this show, but like you can't when there's new episodes. You have to watch them. There's something in your body. There's something in your soul. And I've been getting texts from Jahan all week long that have no, it's just like a sentence. That's it. I have no bearing to know what he's talking about or where it's coming from. He just sent, LOL, this mother effer putting stickers on stuff. LOL. And I was like, what is he? And then I burst out laughing. I was like, that's when John Wilson's going around putting the Febreze stickers on stuff and spelling it wrong and putting the sunglasses back on the Raisin Bran
Dude,
guy that weren't there.
So funny, man. It's such a crazy thing to do. One, because like
The whole
it's just
show
crazy to
is
do.
just a crazy show. It's not like he does that one time. The show is just a ride.
He's trolling life, man. Like, could you imagine? Because like it's all about that episode's about like the Mandela effect and everything, and like, what if you're one of these people getting one of these sticker products and it completely throws your concept of reality out?
Exactly.
You know, like he's an agent of chaos, man.
Yes, he is truly an agent of chaos. It's an agent of chaos documentary show comedy, and I was watching it again this week and or this past one, and it's the editing that is so funny. Like I can't stress enough how funny the editing is. There's a part where he's like, "Yeah, sometimes people will call you names that hurt your feelings," and it just like zooms out, and the place is called like Prince's or Fancy Prince Laundry. Or something like that. Like that's the name that they call him that hurts his feelings so bad. It's just like 10 seconds stays on like Fancy Prince. I'm just dying laughing because it's so stupid. How To with John Wilson is a hit. Have you guys been keeping up, Jahan? I know you're digging to get caught up. I don't know if
I'm still season 1, but
okay.
I'm still watching, and it's still the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It doesn't stop, man. It just doesn't. It doesn't stop. It doesn't change pace or change flavor. It's just a hit right out the gates, and it keeps going.
Yeah, this guy's a
So-
Looney Tune, man. It's great.
I've watched the newest episode that came out, and
Which is How to Clean Your Ears, right?
no, I think that was the one before. This one is how to work out. I think is the new one.
Mm-hmm. You're right. It is How to Work Out. Yeah, this is a very good one.
And it was very good. I will say there's one. So, anybody that's watched the show knows what we're talking about, where the show starts with one topic and then it just kind of rolls into one thing into another. And he kind of tries to make it come full circle, but sometimes the predicaments and situations he gets himself into are totally bizarre, but it somehow still forms like a complete story. There's a little bit of a detour in this one with like a cat convention that tries to kind of tie into his working out thing, which I felt like Of all these episodes, and I know this is saying something because this show is so bizarre, I felt like this was one of the first where I was like, this is kind of a stretch fitting it into his narrative. But but the things that were happening were still hilarious. So it's like, it's fine. But again,
So,
it comes
John,
full
how to
circle.
work out. So he needs to take a before and after picture of himself, and so he can't take one of himself in the mirror, so he's trying to get somebody else to take a picture. So
Mhm.
he goes to a cat show and gets a cat photographer to take his pictures. But then
As one does.
the
As
cat
one
photographer's equipment gets stolen. So then he goes on like a wild goose chase trying to see if he can help try to solve the crime of who stole this guy's equipment. And one of the people at the cat show was like a cat detective novel writer who wrote books about solving
This
cat
absolutely
crime.
sounds like you're making it up, but this is all.
So he goes to
all
the cat
true.
crime lady's house, and she's like, "No, I don't want to research this. I don't want to help you. I'm not a real detective. I'm just a writer." She's like really standoffish. So then he gets her to take the picture, and then he's done with of him without a shirt on, and then that's it. Then he's done with the cat show.
See, the one I just watched is the one where he's trying to figure out how to fairly split a bill at like a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decides, like he hears about this dinner, this regional dinner for referees. And he's like, they'll be fair because they're referees. It's their job. And then at the referee dinner, there's like this embezzlement scheme where like the higher ups like gave made one of themselves win a raffle for a giant TV, and everyone was mad, and then someone stole one of the head people's golden whistle that he had just been awarded, and like so it was just nuts. Like it couldn't have gone worse. Like I feel
it was like the worst group of people to possibly ever go to their dinner. The referees just exploded.
Everyone was yelling, like no one was behaving. There was so much corruption. It was so crazy. Like it was so bad.
How To with John Wilson is hot fire. All of us love it. Please watch it. It's on HBO Max. It's certified fresh out the box.
I just want to say, I know you're like trying to transition it on, so I apologize to keep moving it back.
Man.
But there is a bit in the newest episode where he's at the Emmys, because he's actually his show is nominated for an Emmy, so he's there, but he's like secretly filming on the red carpet and doing things, and like it'll even cut to what it showed on TV, and you can see him in the background filming, and some of the stuff, I mean, it's just so great. His presence is just absolutely incredible, and I think the thing that was really enlightening here is you assume somebody has a show on HBO Max or on Max, that automatically equates to fame, and you get nominated, your show's nominated for an Emmy, that means fame, but he's clearly at this event and nobody knows who he is or cares who he is.
Yeah, he never shows
which makes
his face,
it that
really.
much funnier, because it all kind of fits into his style.
He also, walks around facing down the whole time and facing the camera. And so, like, anytime it shows the face he's making, he's got, like, an underbite and his teeth are out. And he's just like, just like walking around filming, so nobody talks to him. He's super awkward, and then goes to the after party afterwards, and they're like, yeah, we don't have you on the list. And he's, like, literally looking across the street at a billboard that has the How To with John Wilson.
Yeah, he like tries to go to the HBO after party, and he's not on the list. It's so sad.
It's super funny. How To with John Wilson.
That
one
was
last
so
thing. It's a modern show. It's coming out. It's popping off. I still like it. Only Murders in the Building. You guys aren't caught up. You guys aren't watching it. I'm not going to talk spoilers, but it's on, and I like it. And I think that sort of what they're doing is like the first season was tied to Selena Gomez's character. The second season was sort of tied to, man, I forget his name every single time we sit down.
All right.
No,
Martin Short?
Not Martin Short. The other one,
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. The second season was sort of Steve Martin's story. It was sort of more about his character and tied to there. And this third season seems a lot more Martin Short tied. So it's neat. You got one like millennial story, and then one like sort of this crime writer story, and now we're doing this Broadway theater story. So it's a lot bigger and brighter and colorful, and it's a way to really keep the show alive. Not that the show was stale to begin with, but if you start to worry about that third season staleness coming, every season is almost a different feel, while still keeping the exact same feel. I really like Only Murders in the Building. It's a whodunit, and you get to be part of the whodunit. And it's fun, on a weekly whodunit. It's a lot of fun because you feel like you're playing along. And I catch that one on Hulu. I recommend it to the fellers. Drew, I see something weird on your list, though.
This is probably going to be underwhelming, but I do have a surprise for Gary, is how I labeled it on my list.
I want to guess. I want to guess what it is. And you're going to disappoint me, because all you've ever done your entire life is disappoint me. Did you finally get caught up with Righteous Gemstones?
You're half right. So yes, pigs are flying. I started Righteous Gemstones finally, so I'm not caught up with it, but I finally started it after weeks of saying I was going to start it. Okay. I've started up season 1 of Righteous Gemstones and started to catch up with it. And all I'll say, because you've talked about this show at length over the past few weeks, right? So I don't need to go into too many details. All I'll say is that you were right. This show is funny. This show is definitely for me. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. And I think one of the things that I really like about it is, like, I really like John Goodman. And it's just good to see John Goodman in it, because if you look at his IMDb and his credits...
I thought his character, Eli Gemstone, I thought he was going to die in the first season. I really did. This seemed like the kind of show where, like, they launch with a celebrity and then, the celebrity jumps ship and goes on to do more celebrity projects. And Dr. Eli Gemstone is still in it by the third season. So, yeah, there's this part of John Goodman being a mainstay in the cast that is really welcome, because everybody else is such a hateful comedian. I mean, easy to hate, right? Danny McBride's easy to hate. Adam Devine's easy to hate. But John Goodman, you just love the guy. And it's nice to have that.
He really hasn't been doing many movies lately. He's been doing a lot of TV because he's been on, the Roseanne reboot, and now the Connors, that he's in, and then the Righteous Gemstones. So he's been around doing TV, but, like, he used to have this movie presence. There was a little over 10 years ago, he was in, like, multiple Best Picture nominees at the same time, like when he showed up in Argo and a bunch of other stuff. But if you look at his recent credits, he's been in some smaller movies, but, like, the last big movie he was in was one of the Transformers movies. He was a voice in it, so, like, he's in Atomic Blonde, Kong Skull Island. So he, was doing some movies back then, but just really now has settled into doing, like, the Connors and Righteous Gemstones. So that being said, it was great to catch up with him, because he is perfect in that role as Eli Gemstone.
He's not John Goodman at all. He's Dr. Eli Gemstone. The accent works. The character works. It's really believable. It's really natural. Of course, it's John Goodman, because we all know and love John Goodman, but he really is he is Dr. Gemstone, especially season 3. By the time you get there, and he's retiring by season 3. And he's just in the role, man.
Yeah, I'm liking it. So I just finally had to let you know that I stuck to my word that I would start this show up eventually, and I know it's like 8 weeks too late, but I finally started it.
In your defense, we've been playing a ton of Exoprimal together because it is free on Game Pass, and you did say you were going to play, and we've been playing a bunch of that, and it's been a blast.
Yeah, Drew's really good at that game.
Yeah, he is.
But that's it. That's all I got.
Well, hey, it looks like that's an end to our Fresh Picks, and thus an end to the podcast. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to episode 99. Next time, it'll be our 100th episode. Oh, my God, that's crazy.
I think it could be fun to go back. I mean, we haven't figured out what we're going to do yet, but you were talking about our predictions for the year and last year's lists. I think it'd be fun to revisit some of that. Maybe not, 40 minutes fun, but maybe 10, 15 minutes fun to look at what we were looking forward to.
If you are a hardcore fan and loyal listener, like, maybe write in a letter or something. We can read it online, even if it talks about how much you hate us. I'm down to still read that.
Hell yeah, send us hate mail.
We're considering some ideas for maybe doing, like, another draft or doing something fun. to commemorate the occasion. So you'll find out a week from now with whatever comes out to delight your ears.
Hell yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. I have been Johannanon.
It's me, Casualty CDG. If you like the sound of my voice and the sound of Jahan's voice, catch us every Thursday and Friday at twitch.tv/Jahananon or Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. That's our YouTube. We also have a Facebook, Fresh Out the Box. That's what it's called. Just type in, you'll find us, and we play games with our friends, and it's a good time. Soon we'll be playing the new Avatar Last Airbender game from Magpie Games. We'll be kicking off into that in a week or two. So if you want to see us build characters and start from the ground up, that's a good one to keep your eye out for. Otherwise, just keep telling your friends and family, your loved ones, and probably that guy at work who always talks to you. Tell them about Fresh Out the Box, or Fresh Out the Podcast. I mean, it's the podcast. Every week, new episodes. Tell everybody, Fresh Out the Podcast is here for you.
And I'm Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on X, formerly known as Twitter. And you know what? It's a lot more positive than that. Just follow me over on Letterboxd at Drew Munhausen. You can catch up with what I'm watching, comment on it, so on and so forth. But that's it. This has been episode 99.
Have a great night,
Fresh Out
everybody.
the Podcast.
Stay fresh.